My name is Couch Coop and this is my PlayStation 5 review of the System Shock Remake. No Raid Shadow Legends, no Raycon earbud ad, just me trying to reach 20k. System Shock came out in 1994 and I'm fortunate enough to remember its launch, and it being a very mysterious, quite high-end game. It was available on PC and it had a reputation for being quite complicated and difficult, twisty, full of amazing dialogue. It made a big name for itself. The game was put together by a studio called Looking Glass, and within their ranks there was a little man called Ken Levine. His name might ring a bell. He went on to found Irrational Games, and they eventually came out with BioShock 1 in 2007. BioShock 1 changed the way I looked at video games. It's the reason I'm here now, and it proved to me that the medium can produce amazing worlds, amazing stories, awesome characters. The tech had caught up and we were looking at a new era, and Kev was at the front of that. And what on earth happened to this new era you talk of? Yeah. The System Shock remake, or what we're looking at here, is a bit of a strange animal. They had a tough brief. To remake this, they needed to hug the original pillars that made the System Shock series so amazing. There is a second one that Kev was involved with also. I was really interested to see how they were going to play this. Super focused on a lot of the footage that came out of the announcements for it. It was really interesting. They're using Unreal, but they're also keeping to some of that pixelated detail that gave that game some of its character way back in 1994.
Here's the situation. Our scans from Citadel Station show biological outbreak is in progress. We're in a comms blackout since SHODAN is unresponsive.
This is a brilliant visual middle ground with the graphic conversion. You have got beautiful detail and smoke effects and amazing frame rates. The game feels completely modern, but when you start looking at detail and seeing different characteristics inside the ship, you can remember how that original game looked. It's very clever, completely different to something like the Dead Space remake, which is just bulldozed with brand new visuals and graphics. Some of you are going to be quite shocked at those impact physics and ragdoll graphics on the enemies and how that bar swings around, but it's all part of the territory. You get very much projectile focus, and there's a slight hint on the plasmid powers that we see in the latter BioShock games. There are so many cornerstones in this, including the audio packs, how you regenerate from a certain reach point in the game. There are snippets of DNA for the BioShock games all over this. This was really the precursor, the foundation that they built for all of those excellent games to follow. And if we think about it, Atomic Heart, some of the modern arcane games, they very much borrowed from this format. The inventory, the discovering, the little things that are lying around that help you, that power you up, the way the story unfolds through finding the audio logs, a lot of it is replicated today. With these current gen sounds and graphics, the game does actually produce quite a lot of tension, suspense, and even horror. I love the idea of the corridors and the UI system developing as you do. You have to sort of pick up various electrical items and trinkets to sort of get yourself up to speed with being able to see the map, being able to see your own pulse, being able to see your own health. It's a really cool idea, and again, something that is quite common in modern games.
Come to Beta Quadrant. You will find the medical research vaults have been turned into a radioactive trench. If you are coming in from Gamma, our guards will extend the bridge.
I want to talk about the setup without spoiling too much. I haven't actually produced the thumbnail yet, but I am thinking of using SHODAN as the main image, and that's what I want to talk about with this setup. And if you're a gamer, you must have seen this female Geiger-esque, almost species level of artistry put into the female antagonist. She's an AI robot. She totally rules this entire world that you exist in, and I think that's one of the great angles to the System Shock series, is this antagonist is with you constantly. You see this in Far Cry games, particularly the early one. You are constantly at a tete-a-tete with the main villain, and this creates tension, even a relationship in a perverse sense, but it heightens the build for the big showdown. And it also creates a lot of creepy situations where you know that she's watching and altering your reality from where she's sitting. God only knows where, in some sort of hive mechanical ivory tower at the top of the whole goddamn game.
insect. Your body will never be mourned, but
it will be burned when I am finished with it.
I think we can all be in agreement that the evil AI aspect has actually aged extremely well. And listening to this game's dialogue again and seeing the setup, you might be aware of the basilisk thought experiment. You start really thinking about some incredibly dark situations that we could bring upon ourselves in the near future. How does this game feel in 2024 against a lot of the recent BioShock games and against, ninth gen full stop? It actually feels fantastic, and it also has this depth that you don't see in a lot of modern AAA games. I'm talking about complication with puzzles and switches, the map just being colossal, absolutely no hand-holding whatsoever. You've got to discover everything. You might go down a dead end. There's also spawn points where SHODAN will just drop a cage on you and it'll be full of like half-dead beings and you've got to deal with them. That's on a backtrack through an area that you might have been through before. It constantly keeps you on the toes. It very much keeps up with modern games. Some of this is due to the tech, but most of it, I feel, is due to the original game just being an absolute belter in the first place. And they've carried over all of that good stuff that made the game as loud as it was all the way back in 1994. The sequel for this was also extremely strong and something I do want to have a look at. I wonder how I would feel about looking at this game from 1994 without this remake format. I reckon it would frustrate me a little bit. Some of the UI systems are not self-explanatory and you will have to trial and error even items or even where to go. That's the big one, is your direction. BioShock fans will recognise this mini hacking puzzle as the pipe game that's in the original BioShock, and the whole hacking of tools and different machines is a theme in this, but I think that was grasped a bit more in the second one, and it's certainly most of what BioShock 1 is about, is getting stuff to help you and avoiding those big daddies. There are technically no equivalents of that particular creature in this game, but you can certainly see where the inspiration came from.
Welcomed here. Remove yourself.
She's so goddamn scary, right? She refers to humans as insects. She's convinced that she is, superior to the entire race. I've had to deal with area managers with similar stances. For someone who is heavily into the sci-fi horror genre, both on video games and film, this does surprisingly well with the jump scares. Alien isolation, in places, it sounds like the damn thing's wearing a pair of Wellington boots. The genetic abominations and system shock, they just materialize. They do not give anything away about whether they're creeping or round a corner. You hear a little bit of noise if they're stationary or eating something, but it's very clever on the sound design. You'll be milling away at your inventory trying to work out what some symbol means, and you'll just get whacked over the back of the head by a laser beam. This is really good footage. The game doesn't always exist to the same palette. That space station or spaceship is absolutely huge, and those blues at the start are more of a hark back to the original game. It starts getting very gritty. There's a lot of mist and smoke and strange noises. And the tragic story from the crew of what happened to them, how SHODAN has taken over mutated normal members, the vibe gets past creepy. It's very cool stuff, and one of the best written villains, I think, in a sci-fi video game. I'm going to say that out loud, and I want some equivalents in the comments, please.
Possible suspect found.
You can take a load of adrenaline and stimulants to help you with your melee combat, but they will force hallucinations on you, and the stroke of genius with that is that it's the original sprites from the first game. It's a very cool idea, and hallucinations and stuff just happening to you completely without explanation is one of SHODAN's traits. I do want to mention a little indie game called Void Bastards, which is absolutely stellar without even having connections with this game model. I will link it directly in the description and annotate. This is a sci-fi roguelike indie game, and some of that team worked on it. It's absolutely amazing and has not got the love it deserves. Would I recommend this to the average gamer? The answer is no. Would I recommend this to a BioShock fan? 1000% yes. Even if you're a space sci-fi horror fan, this is definitely going to scratch the itch. If you can grasp that this is an older game model, almost flawlessly placed into a current gen graphical case, then you'll totally get it. Even if you're a System Shock 1 original fan, this is just going to be heaven for you, because everything is smoothed out and some of that ease of life stuff is adjusted.
A small resistance pockets remain. I will cleanse them from my body soon. Diego has served well and will continue to evolve to suit my purposes.
So Irrational Games is now Ghost Story, and it is all eyes on Judas and Kev's new project that's coming out on the 25th of March next year. No pressure, Mr. Levine, but could you save the gaming industry twice?
Every thought you've ever had, your love, your fear, your hate.
Did you play System Shock the original? And I'm also going to leave a trailer for my BioShock Infinite review. I feel that got a bit of a bad ride on launch, and to look at it today, what with all of the modern racial connotations within the media, it's a totally new thing. You must check out that link. My name was Couch Cube, and it's always been about the games, not sitting in front of an IKEA bookshelf with your bobbleheads gossiping about stuff that may or may not happen. I will see you down there.